You've seen race cars flying off the tracks, throwing the drivers off balance and almost injuring onlookers. NASCAR pit stop crashes are just as worse. Just when the drivers think they've landed on a safe spot, boom, a disaster comes calling. From car explosions to crew members struggling to take off burning gear, here are the 9 times NASCAR pit stops went terribly wrong. Number 1. KESELOWSKI had a wild moment on Windows 10 400 at Pocono. Sometimes, when a crash happens at NASCAR pit stops, it's the driver's fault. For this crash, it was all KESELOWSKI's fault. On August 3, 2015, KESELOWSKI had a wild and shocking moment at the pit stop. While driving towards the pit stop at Pocono Raceway, the crew members became alert, and we were ready to set it for the next lap. At NASCAR pit stops, the rule is that all drivers should stop when they're supposed to, which is valid because you can lose the race in a split second. So the crew members usually rush to the spot to start working on the car immediately after the driver pulls up. Brad Keselowski missed the mark though. He overshot his box, resulting in a crash at the pit stop. It was such a rough hit that fans and crew members didn't think he would survive, but he did. After the incident, Keselowski said that road courses are the most dangerous because you don't even know what to expect. No matter how careful you may be, someone will still get killed somewhere. Keselowski got a fair share of his black flag for the inability to control his speed that caused the incident. Number 2. Juan Pablo collides with a pace car at the Daytona International Speedway. Daytona experienced another bizarre crash with a NASCAR safety car in February 2012. This time, Juan Pablo Montoya collided with a jet safety dryer truck filled with 200 gallons of fuel at the pit stop, causing a terrible crash that burned Pablo's car. Despite the crash, Lucky Montoya got off unharmed. In a statement, he said he knew there was a problem with his car, but he couldn't help going at high speeds to beat the finishing line. He explained that he told NASCAR officials something wasn't right when they began the race from the pit stops. According to him, his car kept giving him an uncomfortable sound, but none of the officials listened. They insisted on the race. The car was slow and the brake was stiff. He added that he was in a big crash immediately after he took a turn. His crash with the pace car caused an explosion, making the car burn immediately. NASCAR officials showed the yellow flag, bringing the race to a sudden halt. Number 3. Matt Kenseth at SONOMA Raceway. Indeed, these guys try their best to prevent crashes from happening, but they rarely succeed. In June 2014, at the Toyota Save Mart 350 at SONOMA Raceway, Matt Kenseth was racing with Dale Earnhardt Jr. on lap 75. After he got ahead, Earnhardt hit a curb and bounced into the right rear Kenseth car, sending Matt head-on into a tire wall at full speed. Despite the safety barrier on the wall, Kenseth's car went straight up, bouncing on the wall, and hit the pit stop. The entire front end of Kenseth's Toyota Camry was crushed, with the radiator hanging by a thread on the ground, just barely attached to the car. In a statement, Kenseth said, "I'm sure this is one of the situations cement barriers are a better option. However, NASCAR may never think of it. The damage would have been less if he had hit the cement barrier." However, the tire barrier he condemned saved him greatly, because if he had crashed somewhere else, the crash would have been a different ballgame, maybe a bloody one at that. Number 4. Ward Burton and 28 crew members at Daytona International Speedway. When a crash happens and there's a need to call the ambulance, panic will begin to crawl in. This scary feeling was the case of Ward Burton when he collided with Casey Atwood, which ended unpleasantly in April 2004. The crash didn't only affect them, it extended to 28 crew members at a blow. So you can imagine how deadly it was. You can call Burton lucky. Despite the horrifying crash, only 2 crew members were seriously injured. The safety lords quickly transferred them to the infield medical care center for a quick treatment. In a few days, the result of the crash came out positive because the injured were soon released and set to go on track again. Number 5. Jeff Gordon at the Sprint Texas Speedway. A collision with some other racers led to a crash, making Jeff furious. His vehicle collided with that of another sprinter, and his brake broke out at the Sprint Texas Speedway. This broken brake led to a crash that threw Jeff off balance. Jeff didn't just feel the crash's impact. He was suspended from the race because he shoved a punch in his crew member's face. After being separated by officials, both drivers were forced to ride to the infield care center in the same ambulance. He and the other racers involved in the fight were asked to pay a fine as a punishment because, according to NASCAR, everyone who goes against the rules will get suspended. Number 6. Brendan Gaughan experiences fire at Talladega Superspeedway. Here's another scary fire incident at a NASCAR pit stop that made fans go wild with worry. Brendan pulled up his car successfully at the pit stop to get it fixed. Suddenly, the car started to burn. The entire vehicle was on fire in a wing, and you could see the fans and crew members running around like headless chickens. What exactly makes these vehicles go up in flames? Excessive heat on the track or overspeeding? Well, we've yet to learn because according to the drivers, NASCAR didn't consider safety a significant concern. Unfortunately, the crew members were at work when the crash happened. As the fire exploded, the flame caught 2 crew members, and they had to struggle to remove their clothes which had caught fire. Luckily, the injured crew survived the explosion and were out of the hospital in a few days. Number 7. Mark Martin's horrible crash at Michigan International Speedway. At one point, NASCAR took its driver safety seriously by patching all the holes that cause accidents at the pit stops, but it still didn't prevent a crash. Mark Martin's accident at the pit stop on the last lap only worsened NASCAR's incompetence in making their sports fun and safe for the drivers. Having openings on the pit wall is dangerous, but Martin and his crew members escaped unhurt despite the risky gaps. The fact that Martin's car hit the spot was sheer luck. Because of another forward hit in a different area, Martin would have spun around and exploded, sustaining and causing more injuries than he would have ever imagined. The driver was lucky to escape the pit stop crash unhurt, but the season made no sense to him because he didn't get to the finishing lap. When he spoke concerning the incident, he expressed his hopes that NASCAR would swing to action and get the damages fixed to prevent another incident from occurring. Number 8. Paul Menard at HOMESTEAD-MIAMI Speedway. Paul Menard was hopeful the season would end with a victorious bang in his favor, but that wasn't the case. With just 37 more laps, flames found a way to attack his Chevrolet. Being a tough guy, Paul braced up and decided to pull the car over to the pit stop, but that didn't help. The intensity of the fire increased and shook the car violently, causing his tire to explode. It was a scary moment at the HOMESTEAD-MIAMI Speedway. The explosion was so wild that it made his crew members and people around the pit stop scamper around for safety. When Paul spoke about the accident, he said the blast was rough and everyone escaped injured. However, this incident disrupted the season and ended abruptly for him. A terrifying loss soon overshadowed his excitement to get to the finishing lap. One of the most baffling things about this crash is how long it took NASCAR officials to throw the yellow flag and signify the end of the race. It goes a long way to show how much they care for their race and not the driver's safety. Number 9. CODY WARE at Texas Motor Speedway. On lap 168 at Texas Motor Speedway, WARE got into an accident at the pit stop while driving his number 51 Ford Mustang. The vehicle snapped to the right, hit the wall, and then rolled down to the pit stop. As it rolled down the track, it bounced off Alex Bauman's pit stop wall. After the severe hit, fans heard him say, "I need help." For a top professional racer to scream for help, you know the crash hit him hard. Immediately, he was put in an ambulance and rushed to the infield care center. Although the crash was severe, CODY WARE was lucky to have only suffered discomfort in his left ankle and had no broken bone or severe injury. According to the doctors, he should be able to get back on track again, but needs NASCAR approval first. The impact at which he hit the wall called for a quick repair, but thankfully, no one on the pit road sustained any injury or was affected. It was crazier when NASCAR didn't think that safety equipment was necessary. Thankfully, they've been concerned of late, and we hope they maintain the standard till the end.